I owe you a couple of videos before the summer's over, don't I? So this month of this year actually chronicles the 50th anniversary of a certain installment in the Showa era of Godzilla movies. That is 1968's Destroy All Monsters. And for good or for ill, I feel this is the movie that kind of blew up the Godzilla franchise in several different directions and focuses, with some later portrayals kind of taking a lead off of this movie and actually kind of portraying Godzilla as an intentionally heroic figure, to the incorporation of several other kaiju and monsters into his supporting cast and rogues gallery, to the idea of utilizing a home base for a lot of the monsters. In this movie it's called Monsterland, later to be called Monster Island. We'll see this idea be kind of reiterated and reinterpreted throughout not just Godzilla's franchise, but in other kinds of related media. And I feel inspired what would become a pretty enjoyable read in Xander Cannon's Kaiju Max, Seasons 1 through 3, available from Oni Press. Check please, Oni. So I can appreciate Destroy All Monsters' place in the Godzilla timeline and the influence it would have on the focus for the films to come. That being said, it is corny as all hell. And I think there's a couple of different factors playing into this. One is that it was trying for something way more ambitious than the previous movies, in that they wanted to incorporate as many different variety of kaiju and monsters into one movie as they could. They wanted to bring back your classics like your Godzilla, like your Anguirus, like your Rodan and Mothra. Just a movie before, I believe, Godzilla Jr. or Manila, as a lot of the fandom likes to call him, was introduced in Son of Godzilla. And then you had some other monsters that had kind of a brief one-and-done run, such as Manda from Etrigan, and also Baragon or Varan. So they had access to all these creatures, and Toho really wanted to say, let's just try to cram as many of them in there as we can, even though a lot of them just kind of show up and don't really serve a purpose other than to just show up for a cameo. Like there's one scene where Godzilla comes to shore and then Manda's over there, kind of off to the side, wrapped around a monorail track, and isn't really doing much of anything. But he's there, so I can't fault them for not having him there. And for what the final battle was trying to go for, where it was all the monsters versus King Ghidorah, I feel it served its purpose well. Could have been handled better, with probably less archival footage from Ghidorah the three-headed monster, sure. As is par for the course with a lot of these Godzilla movies, one of the major detriments I feel to the film is the fact that it's a very thin story on the human side of things. I will give the movie credit that at least it knows the focus of its film, as opposed to like Ghidorah the three-headed monster, where there was this weird subplot involving international politics and a princess who was trying to avoid assassination. Here at least all the characters and subplots are tied into the ultimate struggle, which is there is this alien race called the Kilax.
Welcome.
Who love their shiny reservoir-tipped head diving suit, and they're here to coexist with us, but coexist with us on their terms. And if we don't coexist with them on their terms, they will get radio frequencies going and control all the monsters on Monsterland. So you do have this scenario now in the opening that has potential, where you have all these monsters going to various cities throughout the world and wreaking havoc under the control of these aliens. And again, this is where kind of a lot of the tropes and staples of this particular plot, when it's used in a Godzilla movie, start to really take shape. You'll notice that it's always the humans discover a hidden base with regards to these aliens. They'll combat the aliens hand to hand at times. There is some very I'll say, interesting Star Trekian original series style action taking place whenever the humans are in a shootout with the aliens. And then you've got the trope that the aliens will always call King Ghidorah to try and resolve the issue for them. Like, King Ghidorah is just the go-to guy in the cosmos for all these alien races who want to invade Earth. All these people just have his phone number and are like, hey, King Ghidorah, I know we got you on retainer. I think we got this Earth-conquering thing in the bag, but just in case, are you able to come in for the third act save? You can? Cool. We'll add another 1,000 into your check then. Great. See you, buddy. Love ya. The issue I take with this movie is that while I expect a fair amount of cheese and corniness, like I said, in my Godzilla movie, this is the most thinly constructed cheesiness and corniness with regards to plot. Like, throughout all the older Zilla films that I watched in preparation for this video series, this one is so nothing else to it. You don't get a sense of who your main characters are. They're just people involved in different areas of either government research or space exploration. And there's nothing really to say about their dynamics with each other or any interpersonal relationships or what's compelling them. At least in some of the other movies, you got a sense of why people were doing what they're doing. I got why the cop in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster was so dedicated to his job to protect this princess from assassination. Here, the characters are really just so bare bones with regards to their setup and also with their delivery. It's not helped by the fact that this is one of the most hilariously off-kilter dubs that I watched.
Maybe I told you that my young son is on the moon.
Yes, I remember. Is he all right?
Yeah?
I don't know, maybe there's more gravitas in the original audio, but yeah, this dub is pretty horrendous. But with all that being said, I do have sort of a soft spot for this movie because, like a lot of these films, it does just appeal to the 10-year-old in me, and in more ways than just, oh, monsters on the screen fighting. Because it's such a simplified story and plot and not much else is thrown into it, and it kind of feels like rules are just being thrown out the window and made up on the spot. It really feels as though you are watching a kid tell you a story with his action figures moment by moment, and then all of a sudden he hits like a plot hole or a certain like wall block in terms of the story, and he's just like, oh, well, I can do this now. There's a hidden base on the moon. I'm going to the moon now. A little bit more context than that comment. This takes place in the far-off future of 1999, where apparently space travel is way easy. Like, a trip to the moon is basically like it's chronicled in Futurama. Like 30 seconds and you're there. Our main hero or character, who's the head of like the space exploration police force security detail, like they're an all-purpose type of unit. He travels to and from the moon, I believe, at least 2 or 3 times, it feels like, and it's supposed to be like within the span of, I guess, just a few hours or a day or 2 at most. And yeah, space travel's a cinch, but again, it's got that appeal of like, I gotta figure out something to do. I gotta figure out something for these characters to do. Let's take them to the moon. Why not? Let's have them fight aliens on the moon to destroy the radio transmission that controls all the monsters, so that all the monsters will converge on Mount Fuji to attack King Ghidorah, who's just there now because, like I said, aliens just know to call King Ghidorah. And the monsters just instinctively know that, yo, these people are bad for us. Let's wreck their shit. Like, I just like kind of that simplicity there. It's probably inexcusable with regards to the more complex tastes for modern audiences, but it's wild escapism, and I can forgive Destroy All Monsters for that. The quaintness of it, and honestly kind of the appreciation that Toho at that moment in history was trying for something ambitious with its properties. I can't be mad at that. I can't like justify legitimate harsh criticism for a movie that tries to throw in every monster under the sun and the kitchen sink too, if the kitchen sink was a giant 500-foot tall kaiju. And like I said, the idea of having monsters congregate on an island and fight each other or, a common enemy, that is elaborated and expanded upon later on down the line, like I said, by authors like Xander Cannon, where you take this concept of isolating these dangerous creatures in an environment that you kind of maintain control over, and they might develop their own hierarchy or their own kind of way of doing things on the islands. I know it's been kind of a toss-up of negative and positive things I've thrown out there about Destroy All Monsters, but overall, I mean, if you're a Godzilla fan in any way, shape, or form, I can't see how you cannot watch this movie at some point, because again, it's one of those linchpin films in the franchise that kind of shaped how audiences and how the movie makers were going to approach this character and his setting for the next 20, 30 years. But again, we'll see what King of the Monsters has in store for us. Maybe the Kilax will be revealed in a post-credit stinger in their shiny, shiny ski caps and jumpsuits. I'd love to see that try to fly in 2019, wouldn't you? Scream!